Hello, everybody, from the city that never sleeps. That's right, the entertainment capital of the world, as I'm doing my OU West Virginia post-game. A little bit later than I would have wanted. Again, I apologize for that. But yes, we are in Las Vegas, but not much longer, as early in the week I will be heading back to the Sooner State. Yeah, about 1,100 miles away from Norman, Oklahoma, where on Saturday from Norman, the Sooners continued their Big 12 dominance over the Mountaineers. 4 straight times now, Oklahoma has beaten West Virginia. That's 4-0 since the Mountaineers joined the Big 12. But for a little while in that third quarter, game was in doubt. We'll get to that part in just a little bit. Excuse me. Sooners again, winners on Saturday, but a little bit of intrigue in that game, and we'll get to that part too. But first of all, if you notice in this game, the crowd, first of all, great idea. Red, white, alternating sections. Yeah, there was a lot of red, there was a lot of white, and for both teams there was a lot of yellow, as in flags. Plenty of penalties in this contest. And matter of fact, how big of a factor was it? Well, for the Sooners, the only drive that they gave up a touchdown for in the first half was virtually aided by penalties. That's how big it was. The Sooners had over 100 yards penalties in the first half. But other than that, and some at times sketchy defense, the Sooners played a marvelous game. And the defense, by the way, atoned for their mistakes. But first of all, before we talk about the defense, let's talk about the offense. And Baker Mayfield, another solid game for the junior, as Mayfield threw for 3 touchdown passes, and I thought showed plenty of poise in this game. And, you know, you give him credit because when West Virginia was making that run, when they were down 7 from 17 in that third quarter, Sooners responded, and Mayfield with the big pass, and I don't know what West Virginia was thinking, but they didn't put anybody on Deron Neal. Sooners made him pay for it with that huge touchdown down the left sideline, and the Sooners got some breathing room, and that proved to be more than enough in the game. But in that first half, probably the biggest thing that you would have to say was field position. I mean, West Virginia couldn't get out of jail. They were deep in their own territory throughout that first half, and again, the only drive that they had for a TD was because the Sooners kept on getting called for penalties. And talk about the mark of a great team. The Sooners are a real good team. They have yet to prove that they're a great team. That's because they still have not played that complete game yet, and they still are having a hard time controlling that yellow hanky. So that has to change in order for OU to get to an even higher level than what many people think they can get to. And by the way, have you seen the latest polls? Came out, just on Sunday, and the Sooners are in the top 10 now in both polls, 9th in the coaches, 10th in the Associated Press. So another positive sign that OU is on the rise, but they still have yet to prove that they're a great team. So you don't put right now the Sooners in the college football playoff in the same sentence. That still has to be proven later in the season. Actually, they have to prove it every single week now. And as Michigan State found out, they lost their number 2 ranking in the country. TCU owns it. And that's because Michigan State struggled. They were lackluster in beating Purdue. Didn't look very good at all. So you are going to be graded by how you look. And that's, to me, almost as important as anything you're going to find out there. That committee, once they start voting late in October and throughout November and finally in early December, you better look good at the same time as with those wins, because that could end up being the ultimate factor. But for Mayfield, another solid effort, and you saw the Sooners with more running success than what we've seen in previous weeks, and P. Ryan proving how solid he is, and then Joe Mixon, I think the first time he touched the ball wasn't until the second quarter, but he burst up the middle for a touchdown. So the Sooners did have the big play, and leading 24-7 at halftime, you're thinking, all right, they're in control. But that third quarter was just so shaky on both sides of the ball, especially defensively, getting fooled, on that roll around by the quarterback, the bootleg, in which there was nobody there on the right side, and that cut the lead down to 7. And then we mentioned the Mayfield response for the touchdown. But you could tell that even though, Oklahoma, the defense in the second half had some down moments, they atone for it. And that's a big, big thing. If you give up big plays, you better not only make stops, but be creators. And we saw, Eric Stryker become a huge creator in this game with forced fumbles, with the 2 sacks, double digits in tackles, and Devontae Bond not only be effective, but be effective with him and Stryker on the field at the same time. Some think that you're your passing situation is compromised because of that on defense. I don't think so. When you can get pressure and when you can form that type of intimidation, you can see that Striker still has not slowed down yet, and you need that kind of play from him. And, of course, Bond, one of the surprise stars on that defensive side for the Sooners. And I thought Stephen Parker, from his safety position, played adequately as well. So the big thing for the Sooner defense they have to understand is that it's not over till it's over. And they have to understand that they need to finish the job on third down. They were not very efficient on third down D, but where they were efficient was in the first half, taking penalties aside, and definitely with creating turnovers. And they certainly did that against Skylar Howard, who had one of the highest passing completions in the country. And that changed, though, after Saturday. And I said it earlier, the Mountaineers had not played against a team with as much speed as OU possessed, and you saw that with the big plays on both sides of the ball. So a 20-point win for the Sooners, top 10 ranking, and for the Mountaineers, I still think they're a better team than what we saw last year. But defensively, you can tell that playing the likes of Liberty, Maryland, Georgia Southern are not going to prepare you for the Big 12 at all. And we'll see how the Mountaineers do for the rest of the year. But I got to think they're going to be better than what they were a year ago, which was a 7-win squad. So, Holgerson is doing some good things, but he has to realize that September schedule did not prepare the Mountaineers for the grind of the season, that's forthcoming. And I know for the Sooners, Tennessee losing again, that paints a black eye. But you get the feeling right now that the Sooners are a better team than what they showed against Tennessee a few weeks ago, and OU will still need to play a solid game against Texas. The common thing is, OU's going to blow them out. It's not going to be much of a game. Texas has lost 4 games. There's, Charlie Strong's lost control of the team. They lose by 43. The TCU, that game was over 20 minutes after it started. All those things might be true, but it is one word between OU and Texas: rivalry. Throw the records out. You know what? A lot of people thought last year OU was going to handle them. 2 years ago, definitely a lot of people, including me, didn't think it was going to be much of a contest. Well, the last 2 years, in terms of who's dominated the line of scrimmage, in terms of who's outplayed the other team, it's been Texas. This last year, OU had the big plays and was able to survive it. But if you think OU can just go into the Cotton Bowl on Saturday and overlook Texas, even though Texas has 4 losses, one word: rivalry. You have another thing coming if you think that it's just going to be an automatic W. The Sooners will still have to keep progressing because there are things that they have to work on, the penalties and some of the defensive assignments, and again, trying to improve that run game. But for right now, though, for the most part, I do like the way OU's playing, and getting a 20-point win against a nationally ranked team doesn't hurt at all. So OU 5-0, 2-0 in Big 12 play, Red River rivalry, and I was waiting for that line to come out because we're here at Vegas right now. I was waiting for that line to come out at the world's largest sports book. You can't see the sign, but under that Westgate logo, it says world's largest sports book. Yeah, it is something. By the way, they have a separate theater, and that's where I watched all the NFL games today. It's like the Sunday Ticket, except it's on a large theater screen. That, to me, was one of the highlights of this trip. And by the way, going to downtown Vegas and having some fun, non-sports-wise, with my friends, that was spectacular as well. A terrific light show. If you ever get a chance to go to Vegas, downtown Vegas is very underrated but crowded. You'll really like it. And another piece of advice, you want to make money, stay away from slots. I did not play the slots that much. You can make the money at blackjack, and definitely you can make it on baccarat and craps as well, but mainly blackjack and baccarat. Those are some money makers as well. And yeah, yours truly came away with a few extra bucks in his pocket, lost some, but overall I think I came out actually a little bit ahead, if you can believe that. Now, why can't I do this good on my picks every week? But anyway, a big thanks to my friends for allowing me the opportunity to come to Las Vegas, as we'll be heading back to the Sooner State soon. And it's been a lot of fun these last few days, especially at the sports books, where I probably spent 60% of my time while at the entertainment capital of the world. So from Las Vegas, Nevada, one final time, the Oklahoma Sooners, who I got to see every minute on one of those big jumbo screens of the sports books, take care of business against the Mountaineers of West Virginia. We'll have the weekly matchup show probably coming up Tuesday. Sooners and the Longhorns. It's still the Red River rivalry, but the Sooners are going to be a double-digit favorite. I'd be shocked if they weren't. Boomer Sooner.